Has the United States transformed from being an ally into being a problem that needs to be managed? Today, we want to analyze the impact of the new U.S. government's effect on that country's position in the world and on its long-term prospects globally.
America First is a slogan that has defined U.S. foreign policy for years, no matter who sits in the Oval Office. But as the new administration settles in, a pressing question lingers. Is, as American progressive commentators claim, this government truly a break from the past, or just a clumsier version of the same old selfish power game? And what does that mean for the rest of the world, especially Europe, Asia, and the often overlooked nations of Africa?
For decades, the United States has been seen as an ally, claiming itself as a champion of democracy and freedom, but often acting as a self-interested bully, throwing its weight around either directly or via regional agents. Wars for oil, covert regime changes, economic strong-arming, the playbook is well worn.
Now the new team in charge promised to end the wars and focus on prosperity at home. But has it? On the surface, the rhetoric may sound different, less polished, more blunt. The diplomatic conflicts pile up, alliances are strained, and old agreements are torn up with little warning. Supporters call it a bold new direction. Critics call it reckless. But strip away the noise and the question remains, is the overall approach itself any different?
The last administration slapped tariffs on allies and rivals alike, framing it as economic patriotism. Now, the new government does much the same, just higher and less tactical use of tariffs with less finesse without a proper attempt at ethical justification. The tools are identical: sanctions, threats, demands for concessions.
The message of this administration to allies, American politicians and judges and law firms, as well as international allies and foes alike, seem to be, do what benefits the United States, or will exert a price.
For Europe, this is déjà vu with higher stakes. The U.S. still demands loyalty on defense spending, trade, demonizing and confronting America's rivals like Russia and China, but offers less loyalty, security, and predictability in return.
The transatlantic alliance, once the bedrock of Western security, now feels more transactional. If America keeps treating NATO as a burden rather than a partnership, how long before Europe starts hedging its bets? Some already are, courting energy deals with the Middle East, building up their own militaries, and even flirting with strategic autonomy.
The risk? A fractured West. Just as authoritarian powers grow bolder. In Asia, the picture is even more complex. China's rise has forced nations to walk a tightrope between Washington and Beijing. The U.S. talks a big game about countering Chinese influence, but its erratic policies leave allies nervous. Will America really defend Taiwan? Or is it just posturing? Will it honor trade deals or suddenly pull out?
Smaller nations, from Vietnam to the Philippines, are watching closely. If the U.S. can't offer stability, they may decide accommodation with China is the safer bet, even if it means swallowing their sovereignty.
Nowhere is the U.S. struggle for influence more revealing than in Zambia, a perfect case study of great power competition in Africa. For years, China has poured billions into Zambian infrastructure, roads, airports, even the country's international conference center. In exchange, lucrative mining contracts and political sway. Meanwhile, what has America offered? Lectures about debt traps and transparency while doing little to match China's investments. The result? Zambia, like many African nations, sees China as the partner actually building things, while the U.S. comes across as the scolding rich uncle.
But here's the twist. Zambia's debt to China is now crushing. Nearly $6 billion owed to Beijing alone. When the country defaulted, China refused to reduce the burden, leaving ordinary Zambians to suffer austerity. This was America's chance to step in, to offer real alternatives, not just threats. Yet U.S. involvement remains inconsistent. A few development projects here, some corporate mining deals there, but no coherent strategy to counter China's deep pockets.
The lesson? If America wants to win hearts and minds in Africa, it can't just criticize China, it needs to compete. That means offering better deals, not just moralizing. Otherwise, Africa's future, its minerals, its markets, its political alliances will be shaped in Beijing, not Washington.
So, is this administration a departure or just a more brazen continuation of the same old power plays? And what does that mean for America's long-term standing? Trust in U.S. leadership is eroding. Allies question its reliability. Rivals see weakness in its unpredictability. If the strategy remains selfish and bullying, just with less skill, will the world eventually stop tolerating it? Or will America's sheer power keep it on top no matter how many bridges it burns?
History suggests empires fall not just from external threats, but from their own arrogance. The question isn't just whether this administration is different. It's whether America can afford to keep acting the same.
What do you think? Has U.S. foreign policy fundamentally changed? Or is it the same old song, sung off-key? And how should Europe, Asia, and Africa respond? Join in the conversation below. In a follow-up tomorrow, we'll discuss the Catholic response to current global trends.